So it looks like we're live. So hi everybody, my name is Tim Lynch. I am with Planet Technologies. I work for Planet. We are just short of 500 people. I am on a team of 6 that does the human side of all of the tech. So hopefully in the next 45 minutes, you won't get that much tech talk from me. What you're going to get is we're going to talk about the human side of using Copilot, getting ready for Copilot, where Copilot is. And so with that, and I have to keep running back here to make sure so I can advance slides, we're going to start with the problem. And it's not really the problem with Copilot, it's the problem with all of us. So this is, by the way, if you haven't tried Copilot Researcher as an agent, it's pretty freaking cool. But this is something that I have been tracking for the past 15 years. IDC, Gartner, Forrester, Asana, McKinsey. I keep trying to find somebody to give me the answer I want rather than the answer. All of these companies have been doing this tracking study, trying to figure out how much of our workday is spent trying to find stuff to get our work done. This isn't a Copilot problem, this is a work problem, and it's been a work problem for 20 years. Now, you can argue, well, you can't argue with me, I didn't do the studies. You can argue with the studies and say, I do not agree that people are spending 1.6 hours a day looking for stuff. Well, that's okay, because the latest is 2.5 hours. Every time they run these studies, it keeps getting worse. This is before COVID. This is after COVID. This is when we went remote work. This is when we didn't go remote work. The trend line continues up with knowledge workers, people who work in M365 things, struggling to find the stuff. We've all had that moment. I know that Jane sent it to me. Was it in an email? Was it in a chat message? Was it on a SharePoint site? Did she send me her OneDrive link? Did she leave me a USB drive at the corner of my desk? Blah. And that's meaningful. So by a show of hands, is anybody in the room busy? Yeah? So, okay. So, I mean, the data's not crazy wrong. We are busy. No matter what your department is, let's just be honest, you're overworked, you're underpaid, you need more people, you need more resources, and they're not coming, right? So kind of everybody has this problem, and this is what's underlying it. So, so there's a great book out there, Nick Sonnenberg. He's a little bit of a kook, but he wrote a great book. The book is called Come Up for Air. So this is directly from his book. And one of the things he talks about is this problem of searching for information. So when we look at this, how long does it take for you or anybody in your department to complete a task that will take 8 hours? So if you're doing nothing before I gave you the task, and you had all day to do it, and you didn't take lunch, and you didn't have this, and there weren't big bots and a million emails and notifications, you theoretically could do it in 1 day. But this curve is exponential. If somebody's 80% allocated, it's going to take them 5 days to do 1 8-hour task. Many of us are here. Now, I know Nick, so I keep criticizing him, because he stops here at like 99%. And I know many people that I interact with every week that are more than 100% allocated. They are already, so now to do that one thing that would take you 1 day actually takes you 100 days to get done. So we have that dynamic going on. Has anybody heard the name Ethan Mollick? So Ethan Mollick is a professor at Wharton. He has the privilege of being married to Dr. Ethan Mollick, because his wife is smarter than he is. They both are professors at Wharton. They're doing a ton of AI research. And in the research that they are doing, there tends to be, or there seems to be, a 10-hour number. When you have been using Copilot or any generative AI, and really using it, at about 10 hours, something shifts. It continues on. The shift continues on, and you continue going with it. But there seems to be something magical at that 10-hour mark. Okay, so we got these professors from UPenn, which we'll discount them because they're from Pennsylvania. We have all of this other research showing us that there's something about 10 hours. We know we don't have 10 hours, and we know that 10 hours in our day is actually going to take us 3 months or more to get done. So here is, and I love this video. I hope the sound comes through for you. When we talk about like the burden of time being real, here's a fun one. I hope, well, actually, I hope it doesn't relate to any of you.
Need the input from 4 team members. So you draft an email and send it to the team. Person number 1 as well. So does person number 2. But 3.
Okay, so I'm going to hit pause because you get the idea. This is using Teams or Slack or any collaboration tool rather than sending emails. Did that resonate with anybody in here? Does anybody get the reply all, email, add another person, add another person? All of those micro interactions, and again, so in psychology, from a lot of North Carolina universities, we know that there is a significant cost to task switching. You are doing this one task, and then something bing, bop, boops, and now there's an email, and now you have to address that, and then to go back to where you are. There's a significant mental load of you doing that. That costs time. I think you can kind of see where I'm heading here. These are admin reports. So in the Microsoft Admin Center, we can actually see what's going on here. And this is what part of that drowning in email. So fine, we all get a chuckle from the video on the internet. Fine, we have IDC and McKinsey and everybody telling us about it. What does that look like for us? Well, that looks a lot like this. I have to share a file with somebody. I don't send them a link. I attach the file to the email, and I send an attachment. This has put me in therapy. This is, not only do we have the email problem now, because now whatever this document is now exists 7 times in 7 different people's email boxes, times however many people there are. I got 7 different versions of it. I haven't even said the C word yet, right? When we want to bring in the Copilot world to this, I think this morning one of the speakers said Copilot is great because it's a mirror, right? AI is a mirror into what we do. Well, this is one aspect of it. Another aspect is chat versus channel. So when we have Microsoft Teams available, it's really easy. I want to have a conversation with Tom, Dick, and Harry. So I fire up a group chat and I add Tom, Dick, and Harry, and we have a group chat. Well, then we hire Jane on the team, can't add her to the chat. Dick quits the company and he moves to another company. So now that chat's dead, we spin up another chat. I've got all these chat messages going on. And when a new person joins the company, joins the department, and comes in and says, okay, how do I help? What were we working on? They're stuck in that first problem of hunting for information. Because we'll go look at our Microsoft Teams, and they go there, and it's kind of cruel, right? You're kind of like chuckling, you're like, hee, it's in the shed. And we know there's nothing in the shed. So the person goes running off, and they go look at the channel, thinking that's what's going on in our department. It's not. So then there's the OneDrive SharePoint. So OneDrive being yours. This is another one. I'm trying. Microsoft's in the room. You know, look, we love OneDrive. But, and I get it. OneDrive has its purpose. But really, OneDrive is me, and I work in a department of a bunch of people. And I work across departments of other people. So anything that I stick in my OneDrive, now I'm becoming an IT manager, setting up sharings and permissions and who has access to what, and how do I want to organize my files and stuff. I take on that burden just by putting stuff in OneDrive and not putting it in SharePoint. So, all right. So that's the foundation. Then the world comes into AI. Right, so there are some fundamental players, and I know there's more. There's a ton of models out there, but there's really three titans that are fighting this battle. We are the beneficiaries of their fighting. So we've got Microsoft, we've got Amazon, and we got Google. They have their models. OpenAI is built on Microsoft. Anthropic has built Claude on top of Amazon. Google has Palm, which has Gemini, and Microsoft has, well, OpenAI has ChatGPT, and we all know and love it as Copilot. Because these three giants keep fighting each other, there is a constant stream. I looked for June. So Microsoft's roadmap is public, so you can go on roadmap.microsoft.com and whatever it is. You can just, Microsoft roadmap, their roadmap is out there. You can put in Copilot to filter it. There's 300 changes to Copilot coming as we speak. Next month's worse. Next month's worse. So that's really cool for us because whatever we're using today, as Ethan Mollick says, whatever you're using today, whatever AI is the worst you're ever going to use. Because it's going to continue and continue to get better. Now, as a GPT, a generative pre-trained transformer, this is just math. So Copilot is just looking at what you've asked it and it's predicting the next thing. Therefore, I can't ask it to explain itself. It doesn't know. Is everybody familiar with the movie Finding Nemo? So Copilot is like Dory, right? Every time you talk to Dory, the large language model is going to give you a response, and then you turn around and you talk to Dory, and she's like, "Hi, nice to meet you." Right? P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney, Australia. Right? So that's what you're going to have. Where these things get what we think of as memory, ChatGPT or any of them, where we get that, that's the power, that's Microsoft underneath Copilot. That's their data architecture, storing information, parsing it, and feeding it back into it. It gives you the impression that it has really good memory. It doesn't, it's Microsoft doing it. Now, this tends to rub some people the wrong way, and so I'll apologize while doing nothing. And that is, there's not going to be a manual for these. So if you're like, oh, we need a guide, we want to write a user guide for how to do this, good luck. You are literally sticking your thumb in the hole in the dam, because there's 300 new Copilot updates this month. There's 300 more the next month. You're in a GCC environment instead of a commercial environment. I don't know about you, but I have yet to see a communications or a support department that can crank out 300 unique articles every single month. And oh, by the way, whatever you write in July, you need to go fix in August because it's wrong. So it is a pile-on effect, because just because you wrote it today totally makes sense. I think January, February, we had great articles I had written on when to use Copilot creative, balanced, and precise. And in March, that doesn't exist anymore. So all of the screenshots, all of the videos, so my reliance is on Microsoft, because it's their problem, they're creating it, and so they will, and here's the blessing and the curse, rely on Microsoft because they are constantly publishing new information on it. Blessing. Curse, I don't know how many customers does Microsoft have? How many billions? So the curse side of that is they're doing things for commercial end users and EDU users and government users. And so the curse is, which is the one that applies to me and my people? So it's still easier to filter than it is to write your own. When you're not at work, AI is kind of everywhere right now. Anybody use Grammarly? Yep. So I still thinks I should have paid more attention in class, so I wouldn't have to use Grammarly, right? So Grammarly has their AI modeling. Google Gemini, even if you just go on Google right now, AI summaries are just part of Google search results. ChatGPT is now at 280 million weekly active users. So yeah, they are taking it up. And then what I thought would be safe is my Logitech mouse, my good old Logitech mouse. Well, now AI is in my mouse, because one of my buttons, there was a software update, I didn't pay attention. When you click it, it's now saving my prompts for me in AI. Thank you, Logitech. We know from Microsoft, so there's a market research company called Ipsos. You may have heard like Pew studies. So there's Pew, there's Ipsos, there's Kantar, there's a bunch of really big research companies. Microsoft has partnered with Ipsos and LinkedIn. This is from their Work Trends Index. 75% of people are bringing their own AI to work. And this is the demographic breakdown, because you can't say, what I like to do is I like to stand over here and go, yeah, that's those TikTokers, that's those young kids, that's not us. We don't do that. Yeah, we kind of do. So AI is, people are using it. We're not going to stop. This meme got resurrected last month on the web, and it's like, okay, well, we're until we launch Copilot, our people are not going to be using AI. Your people are already using it. That ship has sailed, right? It is in their phone, it is on their devices, it is in their browsers. It is just now a matter of, when are we going to get Copilot? So that brings me to our why Copilot and why now. Now, I'm going to start off, because I'm the optimist. I'll recognize my role here. It's about empowering your people. Sure, I like to believe that, but it's also really equally about protecting our data. Where is our data and what are people using in AI? I'm not going to stop people from using AI, But what I want to do is I want them to use it in the right ways. Now, hope you're getting to know me a little bit. You probably think, he's done. He cares about the people and the data. And I know. So I'm going to run back to Nick because finance is a pain in money. And so, like, let's talk about the money. Remember when I first started and I talked about that scavenger hunt for information? The hours that we know we are losing to people looking for information? If we could carve back 1 hour in a team of 10 people, that's 25 grand a year. 1 hour in a small team of 10 people. And by the way, our baser, this is Nick Sonnenberg. This is the book Come Up for Air. So he just used 50 working weeks in a 50-hour rate. So there's a significant ROI that can be had if we can find those moments, and they don't have to be giant. They don't have to be, this is going to save us 200 hours a week. It can be as little as, if this saves 1 hour a week, it's worth it. So here is, now that this is from Nick Sonnenberg, the book is Come Up for Air, right? This is from a real Microsoft GCC customer using Copilot. It is a team of 110 people. They use Copilot. This is their first month from when they got it. So we're still trying to figure out, like, what are the use cases? What are the right cases for it to work for them? And this is their ROI from 110 people for the first month. So where Copilot is helping them out in chats, in meetings, in files, it's those little things that are adding up to those 2.5, whichever study is right, 1.5 to 2.5 hours a day. It's in those meetings, it's in those summaries, it's in those files, it's in those chats. Those are the micro moments that Copilot can really help to accelerate your time. That time is money. And this is considerably more than the license cost. So that's from an actual customer. So Copilot working in your tools that you're already doing. Remember, I said I raged. I raged because I started to rage against email. But really, if that's where you're working is in email, then Copilot can bring value to your email. If it's in Teams, then that's where Copilot brings Teams. You don't want to look at your department and say, okay, what is the ROI of our department using OneNote in Copilot? Well, we're not using OneNote, but we're doing thousands of Excel spreadsheets. Well, that's okay. If Copilot helps in Excel, then that's where it helps, then that's where it provides its value. The difference between Copilot and all of the other AIs is about your Microsoft Graph. And has anybody heard that, your Microsoft Graph, what your graph is? So when you are inside your Microsoft account, you have a graph. You have a graph, and you have a graph. Now, if you two are in the same department, your graph, the Venn diagram of your graph, has a lot of overlap. But so is yours. Your Microsoft Graph. They're unique to you, and it's everything that you have view access to at work. So that's the fun part, is it doesn't change permissions. Turning on Copilot doesn't mean that all of a sudden my secret, love letter to Ken is all of a sudden shown to Ken because I haven't shared it with him yet. Joanne and I are still drafting that love letter. So until that permission changes, Copilot respects that. And so it stays with everything that I have access to and only the things that I have access to. So there's that, which really, when Copilot comes on for you, you'll see, it's amazing in how it can find things. It can find things because it understands the relationship of all the information that you have access to.
Right or wrong?
Right or wrong. So one of the things, and so I work for a company called Planet, so I'm going to use this Planet analogy. Because I'm not sure which departments or agencies you are all with or how big they are, but if that Microsoft graph makes anybody nervous, because sometimes people get nervous, there are 9 planets in our solar system. Don't talk to me about Pluto, it's still a planet, right? There are 9 planets in our solar system. So when you turn on Copilot, everybody's graph lights up. There are ways that in administration, you can deal with anything that you have a concern of. So if all of a sudden we say all of our finance data is on Mars, and we don't know about the sharing, and we're not sure what to do, there is a way using restricted SharePoint search to take Mars out of the solar system, as far as Copilot is concerned. So Copilot will go about its day, and any data that is sitting on the planet Mars just doesn't exist. There's another tool, if you're like, well, I've got this information sitting over on Earth, but we got this weird stuff out in Europe. Well, there's another RCD, which is content discovery, allows you, well, IT administrators, to say, Earth exists for Copilot, that's fine, but Europe does not. So as you're getting ready for Copilot, if there's anything where you're like, all right, here's our mess, we're nervous, and we're not sure, you shouldn't stop rolling out Copilot to everybody. Just take either the whole thing out or just those chunks out, and you can exclude those from Copilot, indexing them and using them. Any questions on that?
What's the ROI? Stands for what? ROI.
Return on investment.
Return on.
Yep.
Yes, a lot
So-
of people think that everything has to be perfect before you can turn on Copilot. Well, you do need to do due diligence, and you need to understand where your sensitive data is. There are tools to use to only allow Copilot to focus on certain areas. That's the summary here, right?
Yeah. So in an ideal state, you would say, okay, we're going to turn on Copilot, what are we in June? We're going to turn on Copilot in July. We're going to work with our departments. We're going to come up with, our guidance for it and the areas we want to talk to our departments on what works and where they're already using AI, because we want them to come in and just take that same use case, just bring it into Copilot. Ideally, you can do that. I'm not going to say the name of the federal agency. I think everybody in here is aware that there might be some drama over the past few months with our federal agencies and the people who work for our federal agencies. So there was a federal agency that I was working with, and in the efficiency things that were going on a Friday night, they made the decision to light up 14,000 people with Copilot without telling them. So on Monday morning, 14,000 federal employees got a different kind of a surprise. They all of a sudden got Copilot. It was one of those nice real world experiments because 14,000 users in all different departments and all different things all came in the morning and got the welcome pop-up from Microsoft. I have to say, so far it's going great. They're now a month and a half into using it. There's a few, getting our sea legs, but there's no more drama and confusion in the 14,000 than we normally would have in our rollout. It all happened at once, but that was a choice that was made at the administrator level, and so you can do what we call a big bang. Copilot is coming in. It's coming in for our department or our agency. We're lighting it up on Monday. One of the things that I do highly advise is whenever you're going to get Copilot for your group, is to have some form of in-department transparent process for talking about it. Because right now, what we know from the secret cyborgs, the bring your own AI from Microsoft, is that there is a lot going on in the shadows. It doesn't need to be. When you've got Copilot, it's in your graph, it's using your stuff. The things you talk to Microsoft Copilot about never leave your tenant. So our conversations in our department can be free-flowing. And those are the places where we need to find the policies, our SOPs, how our departments function that need to be updated. An AI policy from 6 months ago or 9 months ago or a year ago that said, do not use departmental information in any AI GPT systems really matter. As a departmental policy, that mattered 6 months ago. Or what time? Pre-Copilot, that mattered. Post-Copilot, that's irrelevant. So we need to update those policies so that they're in line with the abilities that we have for our people. The other thing that that does is it opens up dialogue within your departments, because Copilot for the individual is what I'm talking to you about today. I think there's a few other of the talks that are talking about agents. That is Copilot for our group. And agents are already here. And agents taking action and orchestrating them and swarms of agents is what is coming. So when you get into the Copilot world, you're jumping on a train that's already going 200 miles an hour. And it's going to head there. So what does it mean for our department? What does it mean for our people? What does it mean for how we work together? What does it mean for where we share information? All of that comes in. One of my colleagues was building at a test case, I think it was in North Carolina. Is it North Carolina speed limit 70?
Yeah,
70. And it used to be 55?
it can be.
The highway speed, normal highway, like, oh, it depends? Okay.
Interstates.
Yes.
70. Because he was working on it and basically was asking Copilot, it was something about the speed in North Carolina, and it was coming back and it was saying, no, the speed's 55. And no, it's 70. No, it's 55. And Copilot was citing its authoritative source. The authoritative source was the policy, the law, but it was old. And so one of the other really, I love this part about Copilot, is the other AIs, even ChatGPT, have a limited ability to tell you to cite its source, where it's getting that information from. If you go into ChatGPT and you're like, cite your source, it's doing a better job now than it did 3 months ago if it can cite a website, but even the websites that it cites sometimes just do not have the thing that it had. When Copilot tells you the speed limit in North Carolina is 55, it's going to give you the exact PDF law document and link right to where it got that information. It can still be wrong because the information's old. I downloaded it. It was in my OneDrive what the speed limit law was, but there's been 6 revisions to the law since then. But Copilot's going to know exactly where it's pulling that information from. It's going to give you the link. And when you click that link, it's going to bring you right into the file. And if it can, it'll bring you right to the paragraph. So if it's something like a Microsoft Word document or an Excel document or a PowerPoint document that it's referring to, not only can it get you there, it can actually get you even within the file itself. So.
You've got a question?
Oh.
It has its capabilities currently.
Yes.
Yes. To cite its source?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And so Copilot will cite its source, so you have a conversation with Copilot, and it's going to give up where it got that information from your tenant. So for you, it can come up and say, here's the Word document that I got this from. Here's the email.
Yep.
Because it's your email. You're going to get a different response because your email is not the same as his, so it's going to be slightly different. But if you both have access to the same document, then that goes back to your Microsoft Graph. It's your view access. This is individualized to each and every person inside that has a license.
And constantly learning by the second.
Yes. So, oh, and that's hey, this is a getting ready for Copilot talk, so I can say this up. All right. So one of the things that with your Microsoft Graph. Now this is your Microsoft Graph times all of your people is constantly updated. It is a nightmare for the poor people at Microsoft that got to keep the lights on and this thing hung. When you take a folder, 50 or 100 documents, PDFs, and Excel files, and you drag it into your SharePoint, please, or OneDrive. When you drop in a bunch of folders with a bunch of new information, OneDrive has got it's sunk, it's backed up. The Microsoft Graph is indexing and creating a vector database of everything that is in that content. It can be as quick as a minute. We've seen it as long as an hour. And when it was an hour, it was because me and a coworker were really abusing it. we were ramming stuff into it and then immediately asking Copilot to contextualize that. And so we were being a little mean. So going in, be gentle. If you just gave Copilot, when I say give Copilot, when you put files that are available for Copilot, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, you move those files in, give them a little bit of time to settle before you start directly asking Copilot and assuming it to know and understand and be able to return it. So let's just say 1 to 60 minutes on the inbound. And because my coworker Bill likes to push me, I have 100 files in a folder, and I go in and change permissions, remove visibility, like add somebody or remove somebody, or I pull the files out, delete them. Removing from the Microsoft Graph, almost instant. We have put gigs in and then click the delete button, and the Microsoft Graph is within a minute already can access it. So that's kind of goes back to Microsoft's philosophy about data and access and controls, and it's kind of who they are. So that's very on brand for them. But as you're getting into Copilot and it's starting to know more and more about you, that tends to be something I hear a lot of people do is I put a bunch of documents in and then I ask Copilot what the budget was in Cary, North Carolina in 2002 to 2016 and it gave me the answer. You know, that budget document's 300 pages. And you uploaded it, and as soon as the green check went, you went and then asked the question. So it's just to be gentle. Anybody using Loop?
Oh,
Yeah?
it's fantastic, but not as Notion. I really, really wanted to get good, but as good as Notion, yes. Oh,
Okay.
oh yeah,
All right.
Loop's great though.
All right. I'm with you. I am a huge Notion fan. And I love that because I wanted Notion. That's what I wanted Notion. But I can't have Notion. I work for a Microsoft partner. So I can have Loop. Is everybody familiar with what Loop is? Okay.
Is it even available on UCC yet? I think it's.
Yeah.
It is available?
Yep.
Components is,
Yeah, Loop components are and Loop pages now. Yep. So Loop is It's like when OneNote, like Geppetto, grew up and became a real boy. It allows you to have notebooks and pages, but within your pages, they're dynamic. So in a loop page, if I do /to-do at Ken, get this done by Monday, right? So I could put one line in my, I could put it in my OneNote, at Ken, do this by Monday. Well, if it's in OneNote, cool, it's there. If it's in, I was gonna say Notion, if it's in Loop, if it's in the Loop page, it becomes a Microsoft to-do item. It shows up in Ken's tasks to do and planner as an assigned task to Ken. When he marks it as complete, it marks it as complete over here. It's pretty cool. Loop is rolling out more and more to GCC. Loop has workspaces, like our Notion workspaces. And Loop has an alter ego, and that is Copilot pages. So when you're using Copilot and you ask it to create some content for you, and Copilot generates some content at the bottom, you'll see edit in pages. And if you click that, what it does is it opens up a Loop page for you. It puts it all on a nice page. You can then add to-do list items, format it any way you want it, share it with your coworkers, collaborate on it. And then in the upper right-hand corner of your Loop pages is a little Microsoft Word document, because the next evolution is to be codified as a document. So you can go from Copilot to a page to collaborate with your people to a Microsoft Word document. And when it works really well. So one of the universities that I'm working with, a department was taking a 300-page printed book that they do every single year, 30,000 copies of this giant book. And the poor team that has to work on this thing has to chase down information from every single department to get it done by a deadline to get to the printer on time, so the printer can get the 30,000 copies of the book printed. They've gone to Loop and SharePoint. So the SharePoint site is up. Loop works with all the different departments. They jump into Loop and they can see. And remember my first slide on that amount of hours working on information? So much faster than they've ever been able to do it before. So aside from the printed cost they're saving, the content time that they're saving, the content that's live and can be updated at any point in time without a published deadline, is all available. So they're getting a huge ROI from that. And so I think that is the time that I had. So if your people are suffering and Copilot can help you save time, and Copilot keeps your data safe, and Copilot pays for itself within the first month, let's go. Yes.
Are licenses available to us now?
In GCC, licenses are available.
You have to go through your department to probably buy them though, and get them, but are you inside the IC's tenant? Who provides your services, right?
DHHS.
Yeah, so you're inside of DIT's tenant, so I would say work it through DHHS to ask about the license procurement.
And this is also
And by the way,
where,
so let's be clear, right? The M365 Copilot is the one that costs money, right?
right,
Right, the Copilot chat is free, you saw a little bit about that today. So everybody will get Copilot chat eventually, it's not rolled out into the tenant yet. But if you want to use it inside the applications like Word, Excel,
right,
that costs the $30 a month.
$30 a month.
Yeah, so
Right.
$760
Per person.
per person.
per person.
That's why I was saying you can recover your costs hopefully in the first one.
Yeah,
Save an hour a day per person for 100 people.
yeah, I mean, that's, and this, by the way, this is a
So you gotta have a use.
chicken and egg
Yeah.
problem that everybody has. I was gonna say everybody in government. No, it's not everybody in government, it's not everybody in EDU, it's everybody, right? Everybody has this problem. It's $30 per user per month. Okay, well, what are they gonna do with it? You don't know what they do today.
Right.
Let's be honest, when was the last time you talked to that group?
But
You don't know what it is that they're doing.
there are tools, and I would strongly suggest if you want to make sure that you're getting most utilization out of these licenses, there are tools to see adoption. Like see where they're using it, how they're using it, are they not using it? And then you have to have somebody really proactively addressing the adoption and training. Because this is not something you learn once and master, right? This is a new skill that you've never used before, and how you prompt.
Yes, sir.
So when does the chat become available?
We don't know yet. It was supposed to be this month. It hasn't dropped yet. So, I'd say in the next 30, 60 days. I'm not sure exactly when. It's up to Microsoft to release it to the tenants. And it'll be a rolling process. They don't just update every state tenant all at the same time. It's a rolling thing. So like, Office of State Controller has their own tenant. They can see it way earlier than the rest of the state.
Sorry, are you saying that just because you have M365 Copilot and it's there and you see it, if you have not been approved for the $30, then it doesn't function? Is that
You won't even get a license until you're approved. In other words, there's going to be a vetting process of how you're going to have to probably say how you want to use it. There's got to be some business case that you want to use that you can. I assume I wouldn't be handing out $30 licenses without any
That federal client did a really good job with it, though.
Yeah. Well, the federal government's a little different. They're special.
It did stave off the disruptions.
Yeah, we never ever suggest handing out licenses without a training and adoption plan.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's so weird because mine says like, welcome to Microsoft 360 Copilot, and then I can't do it. That's where it ends.
Right.
I was like, oh, I have it. No, there's.
Yeah. And remember, right, if you don't see that green check mark in the upper right corner, your data is not protected. So if you just went to in private browser and you weren't authenticated in, then your data is leaving your tenant right now and it's not as secure, right? So I would hesitate doing those kind of things.
Right. And that's like the business use case, the business use case in IT, IT can acquire these licenses. Nobody in IT is sitting there going, I'm not giving this to people.
No.
I'm not turning this on. But they at the same time are getting a lot of pushback for where can we control the budget. We have to be responsible with the budget. And the thing is, when I say $30, nobody cares about my $30, right? As a one. But when we're talking about central IT, there is no unit of one.
Yeah.
Right? There are thousands, and that number gets really big really fast. And so, okay, I don't mind having a $30 million bill to Microsoft. See what I did for you there? All right. I don't mind a $30 million bill from Microsoft if I know it's helping 60,000 state employees serve the citizenry better than they did before. But I need that information. I gotta know, how does it help them? How is it helping them? What are they using it for? And so somewhere in there is a balance.
Yeah. The other thing is understand also that in the last 6 months, you saw Ash talk this morning. He's the enterprise service owner for Officer 65 for the state. He's been working with Planet and others and state government to provide the framework for governance and how you're going to protect the data and everything else. So if you start within your organization, they should be communicating with the IT about how to take a look at your data to make sure it's secure and safe. And they've got all kinds of guidelines put in place to do that.
Did we put everybody online this
We've
week?
got one.
Oh.
How does Copilot handle conflicting information?
That's a good question.
So how does Copilot handle conflicting information?
It's called hallucinations.
Well, no, because so Copilot doesn't actually have conflicting
She
information.
doesn't even know it's.
That is a human problem, right? Because what Copilot knows, so Copilot is a vector database that has tokens, not words. We're interacting with it with words. It gets rid of those words. It's like the first thing it does is get rid of the words. So you put in words, those words become numbers. Those numbers are related to other numbers. That's your vector. So, and then it gives you back math, which then Copilot turns it back into words for you. So there's no, the budget is $1,000, no, the budget is $10,000. As far as Copilot's concerned, those are not conflicting. So what will come up and what we do see is much like that speed limit, where we have two relatively authoritative sources that we as the humans see that information is not right. But because Copilot cites its source,
You can check it.
we can check it. And then remember how fast things go away when we remove them from Copilot? The right one we leave, the wrong one we remove, and therefore we've solved one problem.
Content lifecycle management is very important.
Yeah.
Garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you keep a lot of old stuff that's no longer relevant, it's gonna confuse the heck out of Copilot. Because it doesn't know what's right and wrong unless you really are very specific in your prompt.
Right.
Otherwise, it's gonna give you.
I'm sorry, building on what you're saying, and I'm sorry for those that are more experienced in sorry. You're saying that it's pulling from the information that it has, and you're referencing your personal information. Is that not true if it's pulling from the web sources? Like if I ask it to cite if I'm moving over to the website and I ask it to cite its source from the web, can it not do that?
Yeah, no, it can. It can, and it tries. And we're in a really unique spot for right now. And my answer, by the way, is only valid for the next 48 hours.
Maybe not even, maybe when we leave this room.
So when you're using the web version of Copilot, it uses Bing's index.
Okay.
It is going to cite its source. It's going to give you its source. And it's going to say, here's the sources that I used to come up with this, the sky is pink. Right? Now, when you click on that and you go into that content, somewhere in the map, it made the conclusion the sky is pink. It may not be as overt and obvious on that website. And where it gets crazy is right now, all the big websites, the content, the news places are all trying to figure out, they had 30 years and still suck at getting their Google listings right. And we're now 2 years in to how does an AI interpret the information on my website? And there are good actors and there are bad actors. There are people who are trying to deceive and get more likes and click-throughs than they're normally getting.
But it's safe, I mean, because I can play, if I do it, I'll get something, I can.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
no, absolutely. No, you can totally play it. It will give you things, it will return, it will cite its source, and you can follow it. You just have to be the human in the loop.
Yeah.
To say, is it right? And even if it's right in that the text is right, is the conclusion right, intellectually?
That's actually really helpful for how I have conversations with students about it, so.
Right. Awesome. Teacher?
Both, I'm the instructional design manager for Wake Tech, but then I.
Yep. Okay. So I've got a link for you. So we're over time.